morning, everybody. Welcome to the 10 a.m. CSL Greater Baltimore Meditation. Today's practice revolves around the idea of expanding our awareness through love. This expansive motion incorporates what we have already experienced and our life-affirming experience, which adds to our individual evolution and the collective conscious evolution. I invite you to get comfortable right where you are, becoming aware of your breath, breathing in life, recognizing that each breath is a gift. Breathe in these gifts of love. See yourself being filled up with love, a feeling of well-being. Know that all is well, good, right where we are. Let's remember with each breath that we are God. We are the self-expression of the divine. We are love, always. So there is never any separation from God, spirit, force, love. Even when we're experiencing something else, fear, grief, sadness, anger, we are still God. And our experiences allow us to transform our present reality, incorporating, embodying this idea of unity. Never any separation. It is not an either or, but this and, allowing us to see it and to be it. We are called to the experience and to experience this love more deeply for self, others, and for our world. Imagine your family, those that are present in your life now, your children, partners, niece, nephews, grandparents, friends. Any and all the relationships. Find those that you can easily feel the connection of love. Call them to mind, one by one, and experience this sense of love, surrounding and immersing each one. God connecting to God, life connecting to life. Love connecting to love. Let's just experience that. Sense that divine connection. Let us sense those that have passed and transitioned to life after life, our ancestors. Do this where you're safe. Can you or do you sense any grief or loss that they're passing? And yet still experience love. Let this grief open us, open our hearts to a deeper meaning and feeling of love. Imagine those that you work with or come into contact with. Those in our beloved community, Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Baltimore. Let's take time to feel this love, showering love to all. Now let's take some time to see where maybe we do not have this life-affirming love experience. Maybe someone cuts you off in traffic or insults you on Facebook. Maybe then you disconnect from this idea of God, always God. Breathe in deeply now. Forgive yourself and forgive others. Let the love that we have built up in this meditation, this practice, in each breath, flood in and guide us as a way to experience spirit. even in the midst of an unpleasant experience. Anger, resentment, fear. Yes, we can experience this and love. We can remember who we are. And in each experience, with each breath, we can celebrate the magnificence that we are and that we are becoming by our willingness to open ourselves to divine truth, divine love always. Let's take just a few more moments to experience love in, as, and through us. Because it is us. Let your mind and your heart be open. See yourself surrounded and immersed in the light. It is the everlasting, eternal love. This is where we came from. Breathing in, immersing, and experiencing this love, this feeling, being full up with love for a few more minutes. And then we'll end with an affirmation and a spiritual nature. Bring our attention back to right where we are. And this information from the Science of Mind spiritual guides. Today, I complete this week with love. I acknowledge my mistakes and I let them go. And I will keep the pearls of wisdom and leave the rest in the past. I carry no burdens into the future. Only freedom, joy, and love. So know this with me now. There is only one power, one presence, one infinite, everlasting, eternal, creative source, creating everything in its image and its likeness, calling it good, calling it love, calling it to know itself for the truth of its being. We are all the divine magnificence, the individual sparks of the divine. We are the delight of the divine, the beloved way in which God expresses in this life, living, moving, and having its being in, as, and through us, because it is. We radiate this in each moment that we choose to love. Love is our experience. This love is knowing our divine connection. This love is seeing and knowing each other as a divine essence that is. We breathe this in and we center into this loving awareness. And we dare to imagine a world that works for all. We dare to have the audacity that steps up into the wonderment and the joy and the grandness that we are. We dare to express this with our thoughts, our words, our emotions, and our deeds, and know it is good. Our experiencing God in each moment, and that feels good. Giving gratitude to this day, giving gratitude for our beloved community, the Center for Spiritual Living Greater Baltimore. Giving gratitude for filling ourselves up, for giving ourselves permission to be the joy and the freedom and the love of the divine. I'm grateful for this awareness, and I surrender into it. Center, I ground myself into the truth of knowing that those seeds that we plant that are for our own spiritual enlightenment and evolution, and they consciously connect to this upward spiral, this collective consciousness that we are participating in, that we came here for. I'm grateful and I surrender and I trust and I know that it is done unto me. It is done unto us as we believe. We believe that the highest and best good is unfolded right here and right now, in this time, in this place, in this sacred, loving space. All is well. All is well. I declare all is well. Amen. Ashe. And so it is.
Llévame con tus alas de luz, águila, tráenos medicina del viento, del aire y de las estrellas del sol. Brillando me guía el camino, llévame con tus alas de luz. Águila, tráenos medicina del viento, del aire y de las estrellas del sol. Brillando me guía el camino, cura, 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 me sana todo lo que yo llevo. Agradezco por mi vida, Pachamama, yo te amo. Cura, 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 me sana todo lo que yo llevo. Agradezco por mi vida, Pachamama, yo te amo. Llévame con tus alas de amor, condorcito, tráenos medicina del cielo, ilumina mi interior. Volando me enseña el camino, llévame con tus alas de amor. Condorcito, tráenos medicina del cielo, ilumina mi interior. Volando me enseña el camino, cura, 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 me sana todo lo que yo llevo. Agradezco por mi vida, Pachamama, yo te amo. Cura, 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 me sana todo lo que yo llevo. Agradezco por mi vida, Pachamama, yo te amo. Vuela con el viento, vuela con el viento, vuela con el viento, vuela con el viento. Llévame con tus alas de luz, águila, tráenos medicina del viento, del aire y de las estrellas del sol. Brillando me guía el camino, llévame con tus alas de amor. Condorcito, tráenos medicina del cielo, ilumina mi interior. Volando me enseña el camino, cura, 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 me sana todo lo que yo llevo. Agradezco por mi vida, Pachamama, yo te amo. Cura, 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 me sana todo lo que yo llevo. Agradezco por mi vida, Pachamama, yo te amo. Vuela con el viento, vuela con el viento, vuela con el viento, vuela con el viento. Good morning. Hey, happy Sunday. In order to help with our new method of recording our service, we request that congregants and participants who are not speaking, participating, performing, or interpreting, please turn their cameras off until after service. At that time, all can come on camera to fellowship and share the love. Thank you for your cooperation. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Greater Baltimore's virtual service. I'm your host today, Minister Mo Wharton. Our speaker today is our Senior Minister, Reverend Raymont Anderson. Our musician, as you heard so beautifully, is Sahffi Lynne. Serving as today's practitioner who led the pre-service meditation is Sue Monaghan. Assisting with making this service open, inviting, and accessible to the deaf community are our beautiful sign language interpreters, Deidre Wilcher and Sonia Chingas. Holding things down behind the scenes is Jim Lecter. On behalf of Reverend Dr. Ray, thank you all for your service. At CSLGB, every Sunday is Invite a Friend or Family Member Sunday. Make sure you spread the love and invite someone to service. We would love to have them hang out with us. Before Sue grounds us in prayer, let me share this about her. Sue has been a part of this teaching since 2004. She's been a practitioner since 2013. Sue believes that we are the point of power in our lives, that our essence is spiritual, and it is good. It is her desire to let Spirit reveal this wonderful truth through her. Sue is committed to the CSLGB's vision that we are demonstrating a world that works for all. One life-affirming thought, word, feeling, deed, and one human interaction at a time. We all make a difference in other people's lives. May our light shine for all to see. And here's Sue.
Good morning, CSL Greater Baltimore. We're just getting grounded right here, right now, breathing in deeply, knowing that each breath is a gift of the divine, knowing and recognizing that there is this one power, this creative potential that has imbued all life with this magnificence. Each one of us is the divine in form. We are here to live this life more fully and completely, to bring our love and our joy into this world, just to have an experience of this divine magnificence. And I know we come together today to celebrate as a community of love, a community in service to the greater Baltimore area. We're so open to receive this message, to have the interpretation for hearing impaired community, for all that goes on behind the scenes, for our hosts, for our spiritual practices. For this, we're so thankful. We're so thankful to come today, to fill ourselves up, to know the truth of our being and the truth of those in our community or listen to this later, that it's all God, that it's all unfolding, that the highest and best is happening here and now for each one of us and for our community. We plant these seeds. We have the audacity to believe it, to know it, to feel it, to experience it. It is good. It is so good. Amen. Ashe. And so it is.
The Center for Spiritual Living Greater Baltimore's community honors the world's religions. One tree, many branches. One mountain, many paths. One world, many religions and spiritual traditions. With the lighting of these candles on the first Sunday of each month, we not only honor each person on their select path, we also bless them and recognize the light, the love, and the life-affirming nature of spirit, as it shows itself in each path, in each practice, and in each person. September is National Deaf Awareness Month. Today, we honor C.J. Jones. C.J. was born in St. Louis, Missouri, one of 7 hearing children born to deaf parents who communicated in American Sign Language. At age 7, he contracted spinal meningitis and consequently lost his hearing. Possessing a zest for life and commitment to giving, CJ's dedication to the betterment of the deaf community grew into a passion. Armed with an indomitable spirit and abundant talent, his warmth, energy, and optimism excited everyone that he met. A leading advocate and champion for the inclusion and representation of people with disabilities at all levels, in all forms of media, CJ is an in-demand speaker and frequent panelist at industry events in Hollywood and around the world. His many talks and forums, from TEDx to Gallaudet's 2021 commencement address, where he will be the recipient of an honorary degree, can be seen on YouTube. CJ launched Sign World Studios, a Hollywood-based production company, creating entertaining content for all, conceived by deaf talent, and brought to life by inclusive and diverse teams of deaf and hearing professionals. And to ensure the continuous pipeline of industry-ready deaf talent available to be hired by media companies anywhere in the world, CJ proudly launched Sign Light, a nonprofit subsidiary to train this generation and the next for jobs at every level in the industry. In addition to CJ's many breakthroughs, roles in broadcast and streaming series, recently including Freeform's Everything Gonna Be Okay and Hulu's Castle Rock, are his many accomplishments as a producer, director, and writer, including short films, co-writing, and directing several episodes of the popular fairy tale series, Once Upon a Sign, creating and producing the International Sign Language Theater Festival. To learn more, visit his website, cjjones.com. I have some announcements for you. Ready? We currently have 3 weekly ongoing ways to study, learn, and discuss. On first and third Monday nights is the Sacred Contracts Book Club, hosted by Nancy Rosenberg. On Wednesday nights, the Science of Mind textbook exploration group, facilitated by Reverend Dr. Ray. And Thursday night study group, facilitated by practitioner Dr. Bonnie Ellington. Sign up for the CSLGB newsletter, the CSLGB Facebook and Instagram pages. Get more news and information by visiting CSLGreaterBaltimore.org. If this fundraising vision inspires you and you're interested in serving on the fundraising committee in any way possible, contact the chair, Renuka, and come together to strategize the most effective ways to manifest funding. To get more information, meeting dates and time, join the committee, email Renuka at renuka.purimetla@gmail.com. Here at CSLGB, where every Sunday is Invite a Friend or Family Member Sunday, did you know it is also a Become a Member Sunday? That's right. Every Sunday is a great day to choose to join this spiritual community as your spiritual family. The first step is to take the Discovery class, which is offered online and can be taken at any time. For more information on how to become a member or what comes after the Discovery class, visit the website or send an email to info@CSLGreaterBaltimore.org. Visit our website for more information on becoming a member of CSLGB. Welcome home. The CSLGB Ministry of Education has upcoming classes. Foundations of Science of Mind, facilitated by practitioner Dr. Ronnie Ellington. Only one more person is needed for the Foundations class to run. If you're interested in taking Foundations, contact Sue Monaghan. Practical Mysticism, an exploration of mysticism. What is, what it is, and what it is not. Be very clear. This provides the framework to live a more mystical life in the present. This is a 10-week class starting September 22nd to November 24th at 6:30 p.m. The facilitator is practitioner Eugene Holden. The prerequisite is Foundations of Science of Mind. The investment is $270. To enroll in this class, contact Sue Monaghan. Would you like to receive a daily text and hear the beautiful voice of Reverend Dr. Ray? If so, type JOIN, JOIN, to 833-663-9021 to begin receiving your daily inspiration. You will be so glad you did. Prayer works. I know, you know. So let's say it together on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Prayer works. Oh, yes, that's so much better. We as a community continue to treat and move our feet, knowing the truth for everyone around the planet. Prayer requests can be sent at any time via email to info@CSLGreaterBaltimore.org. Our beautiful musician, Sahffi Lynne, is an international singer, songwriter, and vocal coach, whose mission is to offer for music and teachings as medicine, to open and connect our collective hearts. Her spirit-inspired performances and channeled original songs have taken her melodies around the world. Her own vocal ladder method of teaching
Singing has lifted her students' voices and souls. Sign up for monthly emails from Sahffi on her website, sahffi.com, or subscribe to her YouTube channel for weekly new videos. Just search Sahffi. Take it away, Sahffi. Cha, cha, cha.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mo. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Sue, Felicia, Marianne, Michael, Henry, all of you are here. It's so great, Nancy, to see you. Robin, I feel you all in my heart, and I just want to share very quickly. I know I've been talking about this for a few years. Finally, Pulse of Evolution, a collection of 7 original medicine songs offered as a 7-chakra meditation, will be coming out on October 11th. Hooray! Only digitally. We're doing it pro Earth, making no trash. We all have streaming services, so you can find it there. Of course, I'd love your support if you could download it on Bandcamp. I'll send out more information, but I just wanted to share that because you all have been such a great, positive support in my life, wonderful community for the past 7 years. So thank you. So this song I'm about to share with you is the last song. So it's a song to connect with your crown chakra. So since today we're talking about transcendence, I invite you to feel the energy there. And if you feel to sing, I encourage that as well. It's just, hey, that's the word, you'll find it. In this existence, we are just papers in a plane. In our resistance, our papers burn out with the flame. You won't deny me, you can't deny me my pain. But I will release you and bring light up from the flame. Hey, we are just papers in a plane. In our resistance, our papers burn out with the flame. You won't deny us, you can't deny us our pain. But we will release you and bring light up from the flame. Hey, we will rise up with the earth. In our persistence, we will rise up and give birth to greater knowledge, to our empowerment of faith. We will release you and bring light up from the flame. Hey, 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 hey.
much. Love you all. Woo! Hey, yay. Yes. Thank you, Sahffi. That was fabulous. Got me over here dancing. And now for our spiritual practice by our beloved practitioner, Sue Monaghan.
Wow, that was amazing. Thank you so much. Whew. So this morning, I thought that our spiritual practice would be from the Science of Mind magazine daily guides, which this month have been written by our very own Reverend Raymont Anderson. So I'm honored to be able to read this as our spiritual practice. And it's titled, Chop Wood, Do Laundry. It starts with two quotes. And the first quote is from Myrtle Fillmore from Healing Letters. And on the mountaintop, we receive new illumination, inspiration, and insight into the providing law. Then we have a work to do away from the mountaintop, lifting our thoughts to the truth standard. We should carry the light, joy, peace, and strength we receive on the spiritual heights of consciousness into our everyday life. Quote from Ernest Holm, page 34 of A New Design for Living. It is often said that ignorance is the only sin and enlightenment the only salvation. And in such degree as we cooperate with and entertain good in our thought and action, the entire nature of the universe is for us and nothing is against us. Reverend Ray writes, why do many of us think enlightenment means floating off in some ethereal realm in eternal bliss? We fantasize and fictionalize the concept in such ways that we make it an impossible goal to attain. Yet both quotes above remind us that enlightenment is about the work we do to be in active alignment with the good of God and to be of service to others in the nature of that good. Enlightenment is a conscious moment by moment awareness of life and truth. Breath by breath, we engage in the presence, in the present. When washing dishes, we are present in the same way. When washing dishes, are we present in the same way a neurosurgeon is present in the operating room? Most likely we are not. Another person's life is not potentially harmed if our minds wander while washing a coffee mug. What if we did periodically wash dishes, do laundry, walk the dog with the same presence as the surgeon? What might potentially change if our minds were not racing from one checklist activity to the next 10 while we are still on the first? When we are present, we are less likely to dwell in the ignorance Holmes mentions. When we are present, we are more likely to realize meditation as a state of being can be entered while taking the trash out just as readily as when sitting to meditate. We do all of our spiritual practices are mountaintop exercises to transform lives, ours and those of others. The affirmation for today, I invite you to just close your eyes and breathe this in. Today, I bring my mountaintop revelations into each interaction. I consciously choose good and share that good with the world. So grateful for this reading today, and so it is.
Thank you, Sue. Yes, and so it is. Choosing the good today. Yes, yes, yes. Senior Minister of Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Baltimore's Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson has frequently been referred to as a Renaissance man. One look at his resume and the reason becomes clear. His mission is to live, move, and be an active, authentic, compassionate, transparent, inspired, vibrant, empowered member of society who serves to educate, elucidate, emancipate, awaken, and empower people and communities.
Good morning and welcome, CSL Greater Baltimore. So today, we're sort of continuing our conversation from last week with that whole thing about paradox, if you remember. This week, we're talking about transcend and include. Now, even though this is what the description says, I'm going to need you to follow along because some of the stuff that this is saying, we're going to transcend it. We're going to include it, but we're going to transcend it. So anyhow, the spiral dynamics model is one tool that expands our awareness. It is an evolutionary spiral that expansively transcends and includes, ideally, the best of what has come before. We are called to transcend our old non-life-affirming paradigms of being and develop new paradigms that include only those elements that are life-affirming and life-supporting, and as such, serve the evolution of our individual and collective consciousness. So let's jump in. Now, we understand that for linguistic convenience, there are a lot of words that do a lot of things in a variety of ways. Now, according to the thesaurus, transcend, the opposite of transcend are these words. I don't agree, because what I find is that it says the opposite of transcend is to surrender. And I find that in many cases, surrendering is the very thing that enters you into the ability to transcend. So for yourself, identify what these words mean to you. What words resonate for you? Being mindful of how you apply them in ways that afford you the ability to do what they say. So in other words, what does transcend mean? To exceed. To exceed what though? It means to surpass. Yeah, but that's sort of like what we talked about last week about reaching higher when there's not really anything higher. Transcend means to overstep. You overstepped your bounds. Well, is that really what transcend is? Right? So for yourself, think about what each of these words means. Include transcend. So rather than simply basing it on the culture and society's definition, right? Because we say reaching higher, we talk about paradox, we're talking about transcending and including. So rather than taking the dictionary definition, identify your own spiritually active and motivated definition and meaning that is going to afford you the ability to do what it is you desire to do. Okay, so let's be clear on that. Just because they say this is what it means doesn't mean for us in this spiritual path that this is the most accurate or effective way of living, moving, and having our beingness. Moving on. So from the beginning slide, it said we are called to transcend our old non-life affirming paradigms of being and develop new ones, right? That are life affirming and life supporting. So non-life affirming paradigms, such as what? Such as I do not deserve whatever that is. I don't deserve love. I don't deserve to be wealthy. I don't deserve to be healthy. I don't deserve that job. I'm not worthy of that job, that status, that title. I am a sinner. I'm going to leave that alone. I am broken and I can't fill in the blank. So to transcend, we are releasing all of these non-life affirming paradigms for paradigms that are life supporting, life affirming, nurturing of us. So I do not deserve becomes, but I do deserve. I do deserve. Why would I not deserve? I am worthy. It doesn't matter what happened to me in my past. It doesn't even matter what I did this morning when I broke the coffee pot or whatever it is. It really doesn't. You're still worthy. I am sacred. I am whole, perfect, and complete. And I can because I am. I am that which is the infinite, eternal, and ever expanding source, universe. So clearly I can. Okay, so let's be clear. Now, question is, how do we get from the non-life affirming to the life affirming? The practice. Ernest Holmes says, Jesus was a man, a human being, who understood his own nature. Pause and breathe. Jesus understood his nature. That means we are too invited to know our nature. Temet noske, know thyself. Physician, heal thyself. Know yourself. There's nothing that needs to be healed, only truth to be revealed, but we must know this truth. And this truth is what we are. So this truth is our nature. Jesus was a man, a human being who understood his nature. He understood his truth. He knew that as a human, he embodied the divine. It was all that he was. It manifests the Christ nature. He clearly understood the unity of God and humanity. Everyone is a potential Christ, or Atman, or Brahma, or whatever words you want to use. From the least, which there really are no least, but for Ernest Holmes in his time, he was referring to the caste system, from the least to the greatest. So let's say from someone who is without job to someone who has job, whatever that means. We understand that there is no least, nor is there the greatest. There simply is all of us equal, because all of us are that which God is. The same life runs through all, threading itself into the very patterns of individuality. So how do we move from this non-life affirming to that which is more life affirming? Starts off by understanding, getting to know that which we are, getting to know our nature, and then recognizing the truth of that nature. We are both human beings and God being human beings. And the human part is no less divine. It is all sacred and divine. So let's talk a little bit about this whole spiral dynamics concept. Great field of study. And it basically demonstrates that as a culture evolves, as a civilization evolves, as a structure, whether it's religion or politics or whatever it is, evolves, it moves from this baser level, the archaic, the instinctive, where survival must be, like we must stay in the cave because the saber-toothed tiger might get us. So survival at all costs. But then we move up, and then we move up, and then there's being authoritarian, right? And then there's moving up, and then there's more. It's based on the community. And then you move up and you move up, and now it's more holistic. All of the ways we live and move and have our beingness can be seen in this. And as it said in the beginning in that slide, ideally, when you move to the next level up, so if you start in beige and you move up to purple, you are taking the best of the beige, the instinctive, with you as you move up to the dominant. And you're taking both of those as you move up to the systemic, like you're moving into the holistic. So you're bringing the best of the buffet with you. Like that's the general idea. But oftentimes we get stuck on this because this is, once again, it's a hierarchy. And we get trapped in the whole idea of what's below, what's here, and what's above. And we're striving to go higher as if it's looking at a staircase. From this point of view, we can see there are lower steps, there are middle steps, there are higher steps, and then it continues to spiral off into the clouds somewhere where we can't see. However, if we're getting to know ourselves, then we have to understand that this is only one view of ourselves. There are multiple ways of seeing ourselves. There is a view where you are seeing the entire staircase as one complete spiral. Rather than levels, they are now a flat, right? It's a flat spiral, not a spiral up, but a spiral out, which we recognize in nature. There are many ways that this imagery, this symbolism, this truth is demonstrated where we recognize it's not about spiraling up or spiraling down. Yes, linguistic convenience. However, it's more about spiraling outwards, expanding rather than reaching up or reaching down. Joel Goldsmith says, all that anyone possesses is the unfoldment of their own state of consciousness. And we can have much more as we desire by enlarging the borders of our understanding and realization. The unfoldment, the outward movement, the spiraling outwards and expanding rather than up or down, rather than a hierarchy. Because it's not a journey upward. It's actually, and we look at the symbol, the teaching symbol, and like it would be easy to simply superimpose that spiral up and be like, oh, that makes sense. That which is at the bottom of the V is reaching to be open at the top rather than recognizing, but it's actually a journey inward, consciousness, the nature that is within, and letting that be expressed in an outward fashion. Right? If I feel love, I don't feel love externally. I feel love within my being. And then I express. I bring that love from inside or all side, and I express it to you. So there's this idea, the journey, it is a journey of inner recognition and awareness. Like we said before, Jesus, Yeshua, knew his nature as both human and divine, or simply as divine showing up as quote unquote human. It is a journey of inner recognition and awareness and living that. That's the key. If you know it, then you live it. But how do you live it? You live it as an outward facing action. See, we face inwardly. We do the whole, what is it called? Navel gazing. It's all about me. It's all about what's going on in my consciousness and in me. And that never becomes an outward thing, right? What if an apple tree only made apples inside somewhere? Then we would never see the apple and never be able to pick the apple, make applesauce, apple cider, apple juice, apple something, pie. We would never be able to do that because the tree is keeping the apples inside of itself. So the journey, when you know, you recognize, then you must live in an outward facing motion. You must live the truth that you know. And when you do that, then you recognize this energy is spiraling outwards. It's not about going up. It's about moving out, enlarging the borders of our energy. It's about spreading and walking the walk. Because once again, it's easy, because we do it often. It's easy to superimpose and think this thing is about moving up in levels, rather than all levels exist at the same space and plane. It's about recognizing spiral out, unfold, bloom, the way a flower blooms and opens up. That's what we are invited to do with this. When Yeshua knew who and what he was, what did he do? He went out in the world, he taught, he healed, he did whatever it is, walked on water, or whatever it is you want to say he did. He went out and did it. He didn't just sit in the mountains. He didn't sit in the basement of the boat. He didn't sit in the Garden of Gethsemane and light incense and candles and sing Kumbaya. He went out in the world and made a difference. And we can do that, see that with a great many people. It's not about living in seclusion. It's about including the collective and living from that space, living from that awareness. Lionel Corbett said, an evolving consciousness provides a particular understanding of the individual's place in the world. The soul, or transcendent self, is that aspect of the psyche that feels as if it is personal. It cannot be divorced from the totality of the larger consciousness of which it is a part. It cannot be divorced from the larger consciousness of which it is a part. We see the universe. We see the planets, the stars, the various gases, etc., that make this all up. But as it says in our Declaration of Principles, the manifest universe is the quote unquote body of God. Well, if it is the manifest universe is the body of God, then that must represent some aspect of our truth as well. If this is the body of God, and this is the body of God, then it is showing me some aspect of myself. And this is not a spiral up. The galaxies, the universes spiral out, they expand. So where am I invited to live as an expanded being, not an inward facing being, not completely externally facing, but balancing yin yang, balancing both and. I have an inner life and an outer life. I have an individual life and a collective life. And ours, this journey is, how do I align and balance both of those? Let's go back to Yeshua for a second. Do we not know or remember there were times when he was out with the multitude doing whatever they do at the weddings, at the feeding of the 5,000 and all the stuff. And then there are passages where he said, and Yeshua said, yo, I need some time to myself. And he went away to meditate. He went away to pray. He separated himself to realign whatever, because it doesn't specify exactly what that meant, but he went away to be with himself, by himself, to align with his quote unquote higher self, right? To get back on track, to plug in, to recharge, because that recharging is important. He didn't stay out there and keep on running, going. He wasn't obligated to run. He knew there was a time and a place to do this, but then come back and take care of himself. To do this, but then come back and take care of himself. So there is this balance between when am I to do and simply be. When am I to give and when am I to receive? It's a balance. Course in Miracles says, and I love this part, awareness/transcendence. So transcendence is awareness. Brings something of another dimension to the three-dimensional human being. In this awareness, there is wholeness. In this awareness, there is totality. Awareness is of one life, one God. Breathe, because this idea of transcending is simply that. It's awareness. Now, if I ask you, what is this? Your answer may be simple. It is pi. Yes. However, symbolically, what many of us tend to do is we see it as God, me. And me is separate, divorced, apart from, disconnected, and alone from God. There's separation from. Okay, yeah, I hear you. And it's because that's what we are conditioned to believe. But be mindful that, remember that, as it just said, we cannot be divorced from, we cannot be separated from. And it doesn't matter how the pie demonstrates or shows up. Nonetheless, is it not all still some form of pie? Doesn't matter how God shows up. Is it not still some form of expression of or demonstration of God? Is it not, however it's showing up, a perfectly incarnating expression of the one? All things are perfectly incarnating expressions of source. All of it. Doesn't matter what kind of pie, doesn't matter what shape pie, doesn't matter what flavor pie. It's all God. And it is, because it is all God, it is inseparable. Each one of us also, individually, we see the boundaries of skin, flesh, muscle, and bone. And yet, both and, we are this and infinitely that which God is. We're not even one with God, right? Because that would be sort of like putting the pie back in the pie pan, and now the piece is back to being one with, rather than, no, it's, if you take it out, if you put it in, if you do whatever, pie, the concept of pie, the consciousness of pie cannot be separated from. It simply is pie. So we are not even one with God. God is not one with us. There is simply us as God. God as us. Only one and the same, period. Viktor Frankl says, love goes very far beyond the physical person of the beloved. It finds its deepest meaning in his spiritual being, in his inner self. Whether or not he is actually present, whether or not he's even still alive, none of that matters anymore. It ceases to be of importance. Love goes beyond the physicality of the person. It doesn't matter if they are with you or not. When someone you love isn't in the room, don't you still love them? When someone you love has made their transition, do you not still love them? So love transcends space and time. It goes beyond the physicality of the person that you love. How are we invited to step further and deeper into that consciousness? Simply recognizing, as Sensei Daisetsu Hyaro Suzuki says, who would deny, check this out, who would deny that when I am sipping tea in my tea room, I am swallowing the whole universe with it? And that this very moment of my lifting the bowl to my lips is eternity itself, transcending time and space. Sipping coffee, sipping tea, sipping water, gardening, drawing, reading, this ability to envelop the whole universe and eternity in this present moment exists with everything we do. He's referring to drinking tea and is able to go beyond the limitations of time and space into the transcendent awareness of the universe simply by sipping tea. The practice, How do I engage in loving beyond boundaries? How do I engage in recognizing spirit beyond boundaries? How do I engage in seeing both the individual and the collective, and including both and in my daily experiences? Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson says, the actual goal with transcending and including is reaching the point of awareness where we understand that we are an individual and collective. We are equally one and the many and the one. And we shift from being so inward focused that we are no worldly good to the collective. Our work most certainly begins in consciousness, but that is not the only place where we are called to practice. Me meditating, don't be laughing over it. Me meditating, good, great. But how do I take that meditation out into the world when I go shopping? When I, go to parent-teacher conference? How do I bring that meditation aroma and atmosphere out into the world? It's not just about what we do in the, did Jesus not say something about don't take it all into yourself? Now he did say, so when you pray, go into your closet and I get that. But once you pray, once you meditate, because you got to get yourself right. You got to get you in order, right? Otherwise you're going out in the world and you're doing all this stuff and then you're obligated and you're burning your candle at both ends. So you go into your closet, you go into your solitude, you go within, get into alignment, get clear, get purposeful. And then you open the closet doors and you go out into the world. You go out and interact with the tax gatherers, the prostitutes, and all the other people like Jesus did. You go out there and you talk to the Sadducees and Pharisees. You go out there and you have conversation with the people who think you're too young to know what you're talking about. And yet all of the rabbis sit around and marvel at your wisdom and enlightenment. Yes, do your inner work, but then make it outwardly expressed. That's the practice. And from the guru, RuPaul, when you become the image of your own imagination, it's the most powerful thing you could ever do. And remember last week, we talked about the power of imagination, that imagination and faith are the very cornerstones of creation. When you become, what is the image you hold within your mind's eye of yourself? Do you hold the image of those old paradigms? Not worthy. I can't. I'm not capable. I'm not good enough. I don't deserve. Because then that image anchored with imagination becomes a thing that your faith now brings into fruition. But if the image in your mind's eye is loving, compassionate, powerful, wise, capable, when you become the image of your own imagination and you let what is inside in your mind's eye become the outward expression, that is the most powerful thing you could ever do. Yeshua, the inner vision, the Christ, and then living that, bringing it as an external expression is the most powerful thing you could ever do. You are already the awakened one. You are already a Buddha. Now it is time to live that expression. This week's mission, should you accept? Journal about this. What is your personal experience and understanding? Thank you, Tracy. What in your personal experience and understanding does it mean to transcend something? Right? So taking your mind, when you generally think of transcend from your own personal experience, what does it mean to you? Is it as a concept, a belief? Is it a paradoxical idea? Is it a worldly condition that you think about transcending? I want to transcend my money situation. I want to transcend racism. What is it that you, in your own personal experience, your own personal understanding, what is it that you desire to transcend? What is it that you are invited to include or to be inclusive of in your life? Are you invited to include people you don't like? And I'm not saying, because boundaries are a very, very, very effective spiritual practice. Not saying invite people you don't like into your boundaries. I'm saying if you recognize that an old paradigm others people is part of your invitation to eradicate, to transcend, to surrender that and bring in the new paradigm that says, I no longer other people. I recognize that we are all one. Let me start having conversations with. And if I may mention this, and hopefully Fifi won't get mad at me, but Fifi recently mentioned engaging in conversation with someone of a different ethnic background, a different race, and going there with the conversation, like heated and fierce conversation around what it means to be white or black or like all of this. Whereas there are many of us who are like, yeah, I ain't having that conversation. I don't even care about them. I don't want to be friends with them, etc. But is the invitation to be inclusive, to include other points of view and discuss and communicate. Simply ask yourself, what am I invited to include? What practices can you engage that assist you in transcending what you want to transcend, including what you want to include, and becoming what you imagine yourself to be? Who? Oh, and becoming who? What did I say? What? Oh, and Tracy said, I said, what is supposed to be who? And becoming who you imagine yourself to be. Muchas gracias, señora. And then lastly, have a conversation with two people about 3 things from today's message that stood out for you personally. They could be challenges. They could be, yeah, I don't agree with Reverend Ray on this point or this point. They could be that. And please let me know as well if you like, come on, give me a call. No, but seriously, whatever stood out for you, whatever resonated with you personally, have a conversation with 2 people about 3 things that landed with you in a particular manner. And then breathe. Today's declaration and affirmation, I will say it first. And if you so feel aligned, then say it with me. I transcend to the totality of all, inclusion made manifest. Together. I transcend to the totality of all, inclusion made manifest. And we breathe. And we breathe and open our hearts to include all of the love and all of the joy and all of the magic and all of the heartfelt appreciation that we hold for our beloved Sahffi Lynne. Blessings, Sahffi, and thank you. Much love. Take care.
Thank you, Dr. Ray, Reverend Dr. Ray. I needed to hear all that. Don't make it happen. Make it welcome, let it go. Find a little balance and a little patience, lose control. You're so much stronger than you know. You're so much stronger than you know. Make no mistake, there are mistakes to make. Let them go. Don't judge yourself, love yourself, you're beautiful, yeah, you're so much stronger than you know. love flow. Find a little light in the darkness. Find your glow. Yeah, you're so much stronger than you know. You're so much stronger than you know. You're so much stronger than you know. Yeah, you're so much stronger than you know. How incredibly beautiful. Thank you, Sahffi. That was incredibly beautiful song. What a wonderful Sunday. I really needed that encouragement today and love the message by Reverend Ray. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And now for our service, we are reminded that practicing the law of circulation is one way we support our spiritual center. It supports where we are spiritually fed. It supports not only the spiritual aspect, but it supports the nuts and bolts and the daily workings. So we can pay rent, care for the soon-to-be new building, the new home for CSLGB, and keep the lights on. And knowing that what we give, we receive. Yay! The CSLGB Practitioner Corps, as our spiritual leaders of this community, after pledging $5,000 to the expansion of CSLGB and successfully demonstrating more than $5,000 from June to December 2020, has once again stepped up to pledge collectively as a corps $25,000 in 2021 to the expansion of CSLGB. This is in addition to their regular individual monthly tithes. As of September 8th, 2021, they have pledged $12,350. And our community is also being asked to join in this consciousness the practitioners are steeped in by matching the pledge of $25,000. As of September 6th, the community has pledged $1,325. Thank you. How do we tithe, offer, donate? You have several ways to do so: via PayPal, text messaging, and postal mail. If there's a certain place within CSLGB that you want your tithes and offerings to go, for example, emergency care fund, new building fund, you can designate that in PayPal in the notes section, on your check in the memo section. For text, see Sue, and she will let you know. Or you can trust that the board, as excellent stewards, will determine where circulation is best and most appropriately used. For more information, go to CSLGB
greaterbaltimore.org/giving. Together as a community, let us declare our financial wealth and abundance. Together, I joyfully, consciously, and gratefully participate in the law of circulation. I trust in the spiritual principle that says, as I sow into my beloved community, I demonstrate my awareness of standing not only in the flow, but as the flow itself. As I sow of myself, my time, my treasure, my talent, I demonstrate my support and engagement in my community's vision, mission, and purpose. I actively give as a demonstration of manifesting, of reaping the harvest of a world that works for all. Yes. This is the time of service that Tracy reminds you to be awesome and amazing. If you would like a practitioner on duty to pray with you, please enter prayer in the chat and remain online.
What an amazing service, amazing music, message. Thank you all. So just feeling this gratitude, just feeling this recognition of our expanded awareness of what it means to be high, perfectly incarnating expressions of the divine. How delicious this is. It's amazing. I'm grateful for this deeper understanding and awareness, this deeper call to just walk this walk, to bring our divine expressions outward into this world, that we are this expanding force. We are this amazing awareness, openness, opportunity to live life fully and completely and as joyous expressions of the one. I am filled up and overflowing. It is all good. Giving gratitude for this day and this message for this community. Release this. Let us go out and be all that we are, amazing expressions of the divine. And so it is.
And so it is. Love you all. Thank you.